Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever, whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. A question for you. Should people with racist attitudes hold public office? Is it okay for a politician to support a particular social view in public, but do the absolute opposite in private? And what do personal views have to do with creating public laws? Up next on Another View, the midterm elections and how candidates are balancing their personal values with public opinions. Guess what? Because they want to win. Wait till you hear what our roundtable pundits have to say. Another View is next, right after this national, regional, and local news from NPR and WHRO News.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Just got back from an incredible vacation, and I am still in vacation mode, but I'm here with us, and I'm excited about our conversation today. But before we get started, let me tell you that on Friday, October the 28th, Unity Renaissance Spiritual Life Center in Chesapeake is sponsoring a panel discussion on the future of Christianity. And the panelists will be Reverend Noah Van Neal, priest in charge at Christ and St. Luke's Episcopal Church, Dr. Sharon Riley, who is pastor of Faith Deliverance Christian Center, Father Jim Curran, who is pastor of the Basilica of St. Mary of the Immaculate Conception, and Reverend Victoria Thomas, spiritual director of Agape East Spiritual Center. Those will be the panelists for the discussion. That's on Friday night, the 28th, and then on Saturday evening, the 29th, Reverend Paula McDeesey, who is minister at Unity Renaissance, will be interviewing Bishop Carlton Pearson to speak about his own experience spearheading meaningful change in Christianity. So if you'd like to attend, if you're interested in learning more, please give them a call at 757-420-5280. That's 757-420-5280, and you can talk with them about what's going on, or you can go to their website, unityrenaissance.org. So guess what? It's time for the midterm elections. And our Another View semi-roundtable is with us today. Dawn Hester, she knows politics inside and out. She is the treasurer for the city of Norfolk. Hey, Dawn, how you doing?
Glad to be here, always.
So glad you're here. And Gayleen Knoyton is a professional matchmaker, politically speaking. She is the political action chair for the Virginia NAACP, as well as the president of the Hampton chapter of the NAACP. Hey, Gayleen.
Thank you for having us.
You? Alvian Lyons, unfortunately, had a death in the family and won't be with us. And then Carol is not feeling well. So there are the two. We wish our sisters well.
Yes, we do.
We absolutely do. So a lot of stuff going on. And I know we got a lot to talk about in terms of what's happening locally. But I want to hit on two things that are going on nationally and just get you guys' opinions. In Los Angeles.
Just two?
Well, I know. There's a lot. But I'm only going to pick on two today. So in L.A., the president of the city council, Nuri Martinez, resigned from her seat on Council District 6 after a tape conversation between herself, Congress members Gil Cedillo and Kevin DeLeon, and Los Angeles County Federation of Labor President Ron Herrera, and he resigned on Monday because of the conversation. Now, this conversation was full of racist remarks and talked about ways to redraw redistricting maps in favor of strengthening the Latino vote and diminishing the black vote. Now, they got caught in a conversation that they thought was private. And it was just so shocking, I think, for people to hear. Sometimes people think because people are minorities, Latino, Black, Asian, etc., to hear them talk negatively about each other was a real issue. But that's not a surprise, is it, Gayleen?
Oh, absolutely. It's no surprise. It's no surprise whatsoever. Thank God for technology because this is nothing new.
Yeah.
This has been going on for a while, across the board.
This is that back of the room with the cigars
they call it
and the
smoking. The smoking in the back of the room. It's been going on. She resigned, but then, now she's on the ground. So what's she going to do now? So, sometimes, people could be a little bit more dangerous when they're outside of it, but she needed to resign anyway. But this is nothing new whatsoever. I wasn't shocked by it at all.
So this whole idea Dawn, of power grab. And because really that's what this was about. They were talking about redrawing the city council districts and to grab more power. I mean, so that's nothing unusual.
Isn't that what we've been dealing with over the past 5 years? Well, really longer than that.
Yeah, 400.
Right.
403 years.
Well, for that long, it maintained, sustained. And then, we get some rights, and then people figure out a way to try to take those rights. And now we're at the juncture where in, I don't know, however many states it is, we have like 390 some bills introduced to suppress voting. As an option for people, primarily people of color. It is, of course, it's sad that they would have to have the conversation in that way, because in my opinion, it would have been nice if it had been a combined conversations with Latinos, Hispanics, Blacks.
Everybody, how we exactly
going to work together to increase our influence. See, we say power, and that's what it is. If you get the most people with the most votes, then you can control. And I'm trying to tell y'all something there about these elections. You can control the outcomes. But we have to be astute enough. And like you said, thank goodness for the technology, to be able to be aware of the wolves that are in our face and be careful about how we do everything. Because in everything that we do in our lives, in our work, and even in the church, I'm glad they're having that conversation about where Christianity is going. There is a power play. Yeah. There are those who want to deny others, as he was denied. And you got to pay attention to it, and you have to be able to work through it and around it. And so there are going to have to be some major conversations, especially now in Los Angeles, where you got an election for a new mayor.
Yes.
To oversee all of this. But power and control is out the yin-yang right now. Everybody want to be in power, and there isn't but one in power as far as I'm concerned.
And, it was also disappointing, though, to hear someone talk about a child. During the conversation, the president of the board was commenting on the fact that one of her fellow council members has a black son. The councilman is white, and he has a black son. And the little boy apparently was being a little boy. It sounded like, in terms of his actions. They were on a float during a Martin Luther King parade, and she made comments about how she wanted to take him around the corner and teach him how to behave and bring him back. And, and she called him a little monkey and things of that nature.
Did she not realize that she's Latina? She didn't realize that? I mean, my point is that, their issues are almost the same as our issues. I mean, we've just been here a little bit longer. But my point to all of that is that in the NAACP, when we champion for all people, of course, but black and brown people is always put up front. We do. We make sure, because we know that is the community that is mostly that people come after. I mean, that people try to suppress the vote, from the black and brown community. They don't want us to vote, in terms of that. And for her to make those comments, they felt empowered,
Yes, they did.
as almost as they were white.
Well,
I'm just gonna put it out there. You know, and when I say that, I'm not saying all white people. I'm not saying at all, but I'm just saying the same attitude as the powers to be on redistricting. The same attitude, you know, on redistricting, but it's only with their community. They're not looking, and I agree with you, Don. If you're going to have that conversation, bring in the black people too,
Right.
you know, and have this conversation on how we can do this together to expand our vote.
Absolutely. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Frank joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Frank. You're on the air.
Yes, hello. Very interesting topic. Don Hester, thank you for being in the panel. But this problem of Los Angeles is a broader problem. Racism kills us, everybody. And I want to mention the following. You think Hispanics are equal? No. That president of the council, she thought she was white. Because in the Hispanic community, you also have African Hispanics, you have Chinese Hispanics, you have what you call brown.
Mm-hmm.
We are not all brown. So don't call us brown. Do you see that? It is not like all blacks are not the same either. So the Africans are black and Americans are black, but they're different cultures. So when you put them all in one, and then my point is that the president didn't want to resign. She asked for a leave of absence.
Yes, she did originally, and then she was forced to resign.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We forced her to resign. We went to City Hall and we marched. The Hispanics, the Latinos, or the poor Mexicans went there and we forced her because she did not represent us. All these four clowns did not represent us.
Okay.
The same as some African Americans do not represent African Americans. I have a justice here in Washington.
Thank you, Frank, for your call. We really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Frank's pretty
thanks,
passionate.
Frank.
Thank you,
Go
Frank.
ahead.
Frank, you were right on point.
That's
and you
right.
are right. We cannot categorize any group of people into one group. You are so right. And
we're not a monolith. No
no
minority
one is.
is a monolith.
No.
Is a
Oh,
monolith.
no.
not at all.
But
And
in
so-
terms of expanding who we are, because we have some of the same challenges, is what
Right.
I was referring to.
Right.
You know, we got to band together on that point to champion.
Right.
You know, champion these challenges that that we face.
And I think
And
that
be-
too, that as we grow politically, I think we do need to, even though we know race and racism are factors in everything that we do, I think we do need to begin to broaden how we talk about it. Because the NAACP, Dawn Hester as an elected council person, my goal, NAACP role, is to lift people up.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we need to stop saying color, even though there is a focus. But we want to improve the lives of people economically through their health, through their ability to work and raise their families, through their ability to be able to, you can't say all that in one little sound bite. So we break it down to,
Black and
mainly
brown.
black and brown.
Yeah.
But I do understand exactly everything that Frank said. And Frank, you must have been rolling because y'all were having the people go out in L.A. To make the point. And that is powerful too. And I think that's the greatest follow-up is that you didn't speak for me. And I don't want you to stay there.
So the whole idea that there was an accountability and an
Yeah.
immediate accountability, I think is something.
Right. And then they got to elect some people.
And now they got to elect
And who's
some
going to
people.
run?
That's
You got to
right.
decide that too.
Okay, let's go into my other favorite national story, which is
Oh, no.
Mr. Walker. Mr. Herschel Walker, who is a Republican candidate for Senate representing the state of Georgia. His platform is anti-abortion. Now the mothers of one of his children has come forward to say that he paid for an abortion for her. And even though he says he denies that it ever happened and that he didn't do it.
Yeah, she had a receipt too, didn't she?
She had a receipt.
She had a receipt.
She had a receipt.
She
had
says she does.
She has the check that he sent to her, and and she became pregnant a second time and had a son who was 10 years old.
That's
so
it. Mm-hmm.
he has several children by different mothers. So my point being, the question is, how much do we expect our elected officials to personally live up to the ideals that they espouse in their campaigns?
But I haven't seen that he has espoused any ideals. I haven't. Don't know why he's running, other than he will be a yes man if he gets elected. And as you all know, I don't want him to be elected. Just because as a black man, he doesn't present himself in a way that I think is acceptable to be in a public figure.
There's an editorial in the USA Today that says the headline is Herschel Walker embodies every negative stereotype Black Americans have fought against for decades.
And so just like the caller just said, all African Americans don't represent all African Americans.
Right.
Like I said, you always say that,
Right.
so.
And I don't have a problem with a person speaking out. Paul Riddick and I used to bump heads all the time, but it wasn't that what he was saying was not wrong. I just didn't like how he said it. That's just me. But that was one thing. But this person doesn't utter anything that is, to me, coherent, thoughtful as it relates to how you're going to make a difference for the people that you want to serve.
Yeah.
So if there was some of that in the conversation, that would be one thing. But all I see is a man who's going to do what he's told. And when you're a candidate who's just going to do what you're told, and you get there and you're just going to do what you're told, you don't have a representative. So why would you want somebody like that?
Why would you elect them?
Right. But why would you let yourself be used like that?
Right. And
the concussions don't go by that bad.
No, because like it says, all same skin folks ain't kinfolk, right? So he sits there and is going to be the yes man. I agree with that. But this is all about control of the Senate. They don't care who it is.
Correct.
It could be Mickey Mouse.
Right.
It's about control of the Senate. I just saw.
Well, I was getting ready to ask you, Galen, is that why the GOP, the leaders of GOP, are coming back and supporting him and showing up and all that?
And it's a bigger picture. And there's an article that's in the NBC says Herschel Walker's black supporters say their votes are about Senate control and conservative values. These black folks saying this. That are conservative. This ain't about him. It's about Senate control. It could be anybody in that spot.
Right.
But this is about Senate control.
So why did they pick him? Why did they pick him?
Because he could be used.
Okay.
And he black. And he black. And he going against Senator Warnock.
Black man against a black man. That's what they typically do. I mean, in my races, they would put a black person up against me to try to, so that's just typical. So that's just an old.
So they could split the black vote.
That's an old game. That's an old game. But to have people of color, and I know we have people of color who are conservative, because I'm moderate. I am. But still, when you know how much is at stake when it comes to lives and livelihood, you have to think beyond the narrow of the conservative piece. Do we want to make sure that all people can vote? I don't care what color you are.
And have easy access.
Yeah, I just want you to be able to vote.
Exactly.
Even if it ain't easy, because they don't make it hard in some places, even if it's not easy.
Well, and I mean, when
but
we
just
think
to
about
be
Georgia,
able to vote, and that my vote counts, and that you're not going to take it away from me, as the narrative is being played out right now, is that if you don't like the results, then depending on what state you're in, we might not have accurate results. So it is control.
We're in a different climate right now. We're in a totally different climate. It's not even about the candidate anymore. It's a bigger picture of control of the Senate, control of the Congress, control on the local level, control of the country. Yes,
control of the countries. Yeah, and local and state. I know we're going to be talking about those in a little bit. But all of that the influence is going up and down the line, which means that the people who are making the decisions for you, they don't really have to consider you in their decision making.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is that's a powerful seat to hold if we let people get there.
Exactly.
And I have an Albinism.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
This is for all the women, so you all listen closely. There's no room in our wombs for politicians.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's an Albinism.
That's an Albinism.
I'm going to tell her that. I said, you can use the Albinism.
You are right. You are right.
So if you were if we were in Georgia and you were working the polls, you know, you were a part of the NAACP of Georgia, what would you be doing to make sure that people get out, all people get out and vote? Because they changed the laws in Georgia to make it much more difficult to even be able to vote. And now you've got these two folks running for Senate there. And it really does come down to who's going to control.
So national NAACP, that's one of the target states. They have several states they're targeting. And they'll target it through radio, door to door, do a mailer, and they have a whole plan. But Georgia definitely is on the forefront, along with several other states. Michigan, I think, is one, and several other ones that are on there. So they have a big plan, and they've been reinforcing the plan into these states on how they can turn out the black vote.
And just voting, period, is one thing. I had a conversation where talked to a gentleman just yesterday, and he told me he wasn't going to vote.
Why?
And he said there's just so much mess out here, and what you're hearing, and it doesn't make sense, and it's just all a conspiracy. Government is just all a conspiracy. And I said to him, well, I need you to vote. How do you think I got in office? I needed people to come out and vote. I need you to vote. I need you to vote so conspiracy theorists or people who aren't the right, or at least right thinking, you know, everybody's not going to think the same as an elected. You don't want that. But still, I need you to vote. He said, Miss Hess, a lot of my friends feel the way I do. I said, well, I want a date and a time because I'm coming to talk to y'all.
That's good. And
yeah.
you know, that's what we have to do,
Because I need to help you to understand that you might not understand all the issues, but not voting is not the answer to that.
Which is the reason why I have the roundtable talk about politics and talk about what's coming up on the elections, because I think we really have to do everything that we can to educate everyone about the issues, one, and also to understand the true meaning behind what it would mean when you don't vote, what can happen,
right?
You know, in this country.
Right.
We got a couple calls going on. Let's see. Let's go to Dara in Virginia Beach. Hi, Dara. You're on the air.
Hi, thank you guys so much for taking my call. I really appreciate it. I love the show. I'm a contributor as well.
Thank you.
Yes, but my issue here is the form, and your previous caller kind of touched on it a little bit when it comes to nationalism and colorism within our own minority communities. And how I know I have a large Hispanic representation in my family, and a lot of them swear to God they're European anyway. You know, so instead of combined, like that they do, like the South Americans are one, and most of them really feel like they're European descendants, and they go into their history and everything, and they almost, it's like they're not minorities themselves. And I believe it was either Barbara or one of your other representatives who had mentioned that it would have been more beneficial to combine as a, quote, minority group in order to disseminate those types of votes, because we live and thrive in the same community. It's not black and white, Hispanic, Latino. It's rich and poor. It's resources and lack thereof. So to take anything from us is almost like taking away from yourself. It doesn't make sense. And the concept of people being racist, I personally believe that everyone has their own types of bias embedded in them, period. But to systematically conspire to take something from our black community is not only evil, but insinuating European type colonial thinking. Like you're doing what everyone else does in order to disenfranchise a already small underrepresented group. It didn't make any sense other than the fact that they really think they're some uppity Europeans. Like, how could you do that to all of us? And I know I'm taking it personally because we've all heard everything that was said. And like I said, people normally have their own biases. But to have another minority group almost weaken themselves by weakening us, it doesn't make any sense.
Dara, thank you so much for the call. We appreciate that. She's
Yeah.
very passionate.
She hit it.
You know,
She good.
people are very
Thank
passionate
you.
about
Yeah,
this.
and I
And
agree.
Yes,
You know,
she's
I
right.
agree. You know, I have Hispanics in my family as well. Some are Republican, some are Democrat. You know, some are independent. I just want to make sure they vote. Just go vote.
Just
You
go
know,
vote.
But that is so true, though. But what we learn from the history, and we have to know our history, the real history. The
And
real history. Because, you know, some of us are still mad that it was African kings that had us, you know, they were making money off of putting the slaves on the ship to bring them over here. And I thought it was interesting. I brought this in. The African chiefs joined others to apologize for their role in the slave trade. You won't see that in the traditional paper,
Right, but it's in
in
the
the
New
New
Journal
Journal
Guide.
Guide, it is there that it is being at least being acknowledged.
Absolutely.
You know, the pain that was created from back then.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about the midterm elections with our Another View Roundtable. Norfolk City Treasurer Dawn Hester and President of the Hampton NAACP, Gayleen Knoyton. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. All right, I want to turn this to Virginia. And I want to talk about the fact that yesterday, Jen Kiggins and Elaine Loria held a debate in Virginia Beach. This was the first debate between the two of them. Were either of you in attendance? What have you heard? What were your thoughts, Gayleen?
Well, I watched snippets of it, and I've got to really watch the full. But from what I saw, is that Congresswoman Elaine Loria was telling the truth. She brought $62 billion into the Navy, and she's not in this race because of the fact just to win. You know, she's in this race because she truly believed in serving, you know, the citizens. You know, she wouldn't have been on the January 6th insurrection committee because she if she was worried about her race. It just tells you what kind of person she is, you know, because everyone is going to be on there. It's going to be under attack one way or the other, and money is going to be poured. More money is going to be poured into to Senator Jen Keegan's race, too. But if you look at it,
Candidate.
you look at the bigger picture. Congresswoman Elaine Loria is really doing what she believes in and what her constituents believe in as well, outside of I just want to win.
Right.
Donna?
You know, you can tell she's a worker. I did not listen
You
to it
didn't?
because I'm biased and I can't vote for either one. It is a new gerrymandered district, though, that she is running in. Okay, I'm gonna say gerrymandered. The districts will change. You know, we got a lot of stuff going on.
It ain't just-
You know, so she, you know, I used to be able to vote. Now I can't vote for her. Her district
True.
has
Her district
changed.
has changed.
And so she is working, I think, very hard. I guess Keegan's is. You know, I'm not in the circle, so I don't know. But you know,
But one thing she said at the end, she said, if you didn't believe that Biden won the election, I'm not your candidate. She said, if you believe in the insurrection, you know, January 6th, and you support it, I'm not your candidate. And if you don't believe that a woman should have the right to choose, I'm not your candidate. It just lets you
I
know.
like that.
It just lets you know that she's not in it just to win, just to win,
and to vote, because she has pushed back on Biden as well. And you know, Jen is running because she was redistricted out of her state district.
Right.
So that's why she's running, because she didn't want to run against Bill DeStaff. Well, you know, he's a senior person, so, you know, they worked that out. But two white women against the women.
I think she was in that race to eventually to do this, though. I think she ran for Senate to eventually be where she is right now. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, though, because this really surprised me in 2022. As we all know, if you watch commercials and political ads and so forth, there is a concerted effort to be inclusive in that ad. Have you two seen the Jen Kiggins, Glenn Youngkin ad where Governor Youngkin is supporting her? And do you notice that there is absolutely no minority representation of any kind in that spot?
Mm-hmm.
And what does that say to the people of Virginia? I mean, it's like...
Well, it says to some people of Virginia that I'm looking for you to vote for me.
They're speaking to their audience.
So it is speaking to their audience. Speaking to their
audience and ignoring the rest of the audience.
Right, take race out of it because she has other commercials that do have black people in
One person.
Okay, yeah.
One person.
Okay.
Yeah. One person.
I'm going to find out who he is, too. Because I don't know who he is. I'm sure you found out.
And he's a police officer.
Yeah. Well, he's in a police officer
uniform.
Okay, wait a minute.
That name, he's a police officer.
Right. I think it's another one in there, too. But she's kind of...
So, and it's okay. I don't like the fact that a person who wants to be an elected representative does not consider that.
Mm-hmm.
We need to diversify our group when I'm trying to get your vote.
Yeah.
Whether you believe in it or not, at least be wise enough to say, well, we need to put some people of different nationalities in. It's not all about race,
right?
But if you want me to consider you, then
consider
you.
You also have an African American and other minority constituency in Republicans in Virginia. I mean, not everybody is a Democrat in Virginia.
Correct.
And so you're not speaking to that group at all.
Like you don't want me to vote for you. And
but it's not top of mind. So, it's not top of mind. And so when it's not top of mind, then you have to, sometimes when I have my programs, I try to have diversity on them, diversity in anything that I do. But it's top of mind with me. But it's not top of mind with every politician. It's not top of mind.
It's just not top of mind with all people, right? You look in your office.
Let's go to the phones because our phone lines are lit up. Leon joins us from Gloucester. Hi, Leon. You're on the air.
Oh, thank you for taking my comments. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to say that I heard once, and it's a quote that stayed with me, that not to vote is an act of surrender, and we cannot surrender. We must let our voices be heard, because otherwise we're surrendering to the forces of the minority, really. Nationally, they say that the conservative movement is really embraced by a minority. And just the way that districting is handled, unfortunately, excludes many people, and then they're apathetic, but we can't be. So we have to be diligent about getting to the polls. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the call. We appreciate that. Let's go to Richard in Newport News. Hi, Richard. You're on the air.
Good afternoon. Always enjoy the program.
Thank you.
A lot to unpack. I'll try and be brief. Okay. I caught it late, but you were talking about Herschel Walker. Okay, well, number one, there are allegations at this point. Nothing's proven, but let's assume it's true. So he's a hypocrite. But what about Warnock? He gets $7,000 a month in a housing stipend from his church. And the law, the federal law, a congressman, senator or congressman, cannot make more than $29,000 outside his congressional pay. That's $89,000. He's not paying tax on it. So you need to point out both sides of it.
Okay, Richard. You know what? Let me let the panel answer to your point that you just brought up. Thanks for the call. Is that correct?
Not that I know of, but I'll have to do my research.
Right, and I think the housing part of it is when sometimes when you go into a contract and they have this separate. You have your salary. And then, you have your housing cost. I mean, that they go ahead and pay for your housing. So we have to do research on it. But I just know that
he was a pastor. He's still a pastor.
And he's still a pastor. And he's still in office and been in office.
And as a person who worked a job and was a council person, I got what I got from the council, and I got what I worked for my job, and I deserved it all because I worked hard. So I wouldn't criticize anybody. Now, if he's violating the law, I can't imagine that the man would be violating any law
and still be in office,
and still
right.
and would not have corrected it.
Right.
Right.
Or made a change.
And made a change.
If it needed to
right.
be changed.
Not Reverend Warnock.
No.
Yeah.
I can see Herschel doing it, though.
Grabbing straws.
Let's talk to Joe in Richmond. Hi, Joe. You on the air?
Good afternoon. How are y'all?
Okay.
I just got a quick comment. I believe it was a lady called in. She hit the nail right on the head. You got biases at all different degrees, different groups. Over the years, I've worked with all different nationalities, Asians mostly. But you'd be surprised how Asians, Koreans stick with Koreans, Chinese stick with Chinese, et cetera, et cetera. And that's part of the reason what causes a lot of strife in other countries as well as here. But it's the level-headed people that like your panel and whatnot, that, they need to stick together. Like the one lady just said, you need to vote. You may not like who's running at that time, but you need to vote anyway. And but yeah, it's all a power grab. That's what that whole thing out in California was about. It's a power grab.
Power grab. Okay, Joe, thanks so much. And thanks for listening to us from Richmond. We appreciate that.
He is so right. And, it would be nice to be able to take race out of conversations, but we just haven't gotten there yet because it's so slapped in our faces
all the time
I don't some people don't want people of color, whatever your color may be or nationality might be, to be equal participants and have equal opportunity. Which people just want an opportunity to do well, to be well, to live well. And why do you want to take it from me? Because you want to be in control and have the power and then tell me what I can and what I can't do. I say to people like that, you should go find your own plot of land outside of the boundaries of the United States of America and start your own country.
And don't complain.
Just like some people did when they left England and came over here, started it. But if you don't like it, then go find it. Greenland is available.
Greenland is available. Don, you're a mess. Okay, what do we need to pay attention to here in Virginia for this midterm election, Kayleen?
We need to pay attention. I think women are on the ballot. Democracy is on the ballot in Virginia. We need to pay attention to voting. Virginia is the 11th state in the country with the easiest access to voting. And so, we need to really watch that and who we elect. And as I told you, October 17th is the deadline to register to vote.
That's Monday.
And that's Monday. And that's Monday. And that means that you can cast your vote early and it'll count on on election day, it'll count. However, a law was passed that will start on October the 18th that you will be able to register to vote and you can vote by provisional ballot on the same day. From the 18th all the way to November 8th, that's election day. So if you're not registered, you can go register. Now your vote will be provisional ballot, which means it will be counted because it'll be canvassers watching the counts inside, the registrar's office or wherever they're going to count the ballots. But the ballots will be counted after the election. So some will start the day after, or they might start that Friday or whatever, because you have some instances where if a person didn't bring some form of ID. That they have 3 days to bring it back after the election. But the biggest thing is
speaking of IDs, just give us a quick list of some of the things that you can bring.
Right.
For
you
your
can
ID.
bring you don't have to have a photo ID, but if you have one, bring it. If you got a driver's license, bring it. You got a student ID, bring it. You have a bill, electric bill. You have your mortgage, anything, any bill. You can use any of that. Passport, you can use those things. But you have to have some form of ID when you go to vote. Attorney General started an election integrity committee. We don't have issues of integrity of voting in Virginia. That just brings confusion. And it brings a perception, and it's voter suppression is what it is. So we are just out here Sunday in Hampton, we have voting, souls to the polls. We'll be marching from First Baptist on King Street to the registrar's office on King Street. We're going to march, we're going to vote, and then we're going to give you Sunday dinner afterwards. And we're going to pre-register 16 to 17-year-olds, because you can pre-register 16 to 17-year-olds, and when they turn 18, they're automatically registered.
Wow. So people can, just to make sure everybody's very clear, starting this year, you can actually register and vote on
October
the same day.
18th, starting
right?
October the 18th. And you can, it goes all the way to Election Day, because the last day to early vote is November the 5th.
Right.
And then you vote on November the 8th. So all those folks that you see that Election Day come up and they're not registered, grab them by the ears and drag them to the polls and get them registered and have them vote right then and there. I mean, look, it's no excuse not to vote.
Right.
It's no excuse. We have access to get people to vote. So we want to bring them out, and we have to turn out on the Sunday in Hampton, because if we don't, we may not get it back next year. Norfolk has a Sunday vote on another day in Newport News. So you have several
different cities, so
they
can
have
go,
different dates.
So and find out where to
And
go.
decisions like that are made by the people who are elected in the office.
Right.
So you got to make sure you elect people who believe that you should have the ability to vote early and often.
And Dawn, if someone is really not sure, how do they make up their minds about who they should vote for?
That's a hard
Tell
question.
people what to do.
That's a hard
Well,
question.
I mean, but give some folks
So
some ideas
one-
of where you go to
Well,
research
you
to
go
figure
to
it
the
out.
candidate's website. You go to the candidate's website and look to see what they have. There have been forums that have been videoed that are on Facebook and YouTube. In Hampton Roads, in Southampton Roads, AKAs and Alphas did one. You can go back and listen to the candidates who are from your area, because you've got city council candidates and you've got school board candidates. And we know that you've got to get some good people on those, because they're making decisions at the local level. You know, I think everything is local.
Exactly.
So-
And I was going to say that's the other piece of this, is that while a lot of times we focus on national races, we have very significant local races happening right here in Hampton.
Because
Roads.
they've been moved from May to November in many of the localities, all of the localities. Some already had them in November, but now all of the elections. So this is what's important. We know that the majority of voters go and vote for the federal level. It is so important that you vote down ballot. You don't stop at the top. Vote down ballot. Make sure you vote those locals in.
School board, city
School board,
council,
city council.
And congressman.
Congress.
Those are the things that are on
Vote.
there.
So don't just stop at the Congress level. Go all the way down ballot. So when you talk about getting people to come out to vote, you can't tell them who to vote for. I mean, some people do, but I find that I talk to a person and find out what's important to them. You know, and then what's important to them, I'm able to provide issues and then some facts about some of the candidates to them. But I also would direct them to factual, true, not bogus stuff to get information in. But you have to find out what's important to a person. And then when you turn it around to them, then they see that they need to go vote.
Right.
Okay.
But you do have to talk to your candidates, but everybody's not going to take the time to do that.
Right.
Find somebody that you trust and say, who should I vote for? Because I'll tell you in a heartbeat if you ask me. In Norfolk, I'll tell you in Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, and Suffolk too.
That's right.
But that's because I pay attention. Everybody doesn't have time to
they
pay
don't.
attention, because they're just trying to live and survive, but they want to vote.
But they
And so they at least want to know, well, if you pick the top two, give me two so I can just research those two. But that's one thing.
But do your research.
You have to do your research,
research.
because people can say things and they can use the right words, but what they're saying is totally different than what they do and what they have a history of doing. So the candidates that we have here in Virginia, well, at least in Southampton Roads, most of them at the federal level, they have a record that you can check. But for the city council and the school board elections, we got a lot of new people running. New people who just, they just want to get there. They want to get to that table so they can try to make a difference. And so you really have to
pay
select. I
attention
mean,
to
in
that.
Newport News, they had a forum the other night. But anyway, you got decisions to make, because you have candidates and people who, one, have not been in office, and those who have been in office.
And it's so
Look at their
important.
record.
And you're exactly right. And it's so important that you do your research and attend the forums if you can.
Right.
Attend the forums.
Right.
You know, because like you said, the
So
local
in other words,
elections
become
important.
civically active.
Become civically active. I went to a young person influencers event that Charles Batman Brown had. He had promoters, he had entertainers, DJs. Some flew in from out of town that's from here to come to this meeting. And one of the things that we said to them is that it's important to vote because everybody pay taxes. Even if you go to the store to buy something, you're paying taxes.
Right. But then the other thing is you can't be bamboozled by all the stuff that you hear.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we ebb and flow every 7 years. If you don't know your history, then pay attention to that every 7 years. So this inflation conversation, it's going to be with us every 7 years. We're going to go up and down and up and down. It's not going to
Like a
change. So
roller
you
coaster.
can't vote. Nobody can go into office and change inflation. Let me just make that clear. Nobody elected to office can change that because that has so many different variables. It deals with businesses. It deals with other countries. So don't base your decision on inflation. Another thing, in Norfolk, I'm doing a forum on October 27th at First United Presbyterian Church for city council and school board candidates. So I'll give you that information so you know you
And
can share it with others
I will.
so that people can have an opportunity to come and talk. And the gentleman that I told you I was talking to that said he didn't vote, he didn't realize that one of his classmates was running for school board.
See? So they are personal connections there. And every delegate in the House of in the General Assembly is up for election this year,
Next
right?
year.
Next year.
Right now, House and Senate. House
Right.
and Senate is up next year.
Right.
Okay.
Right now, it's
Okay.
just federal and the local races,
And-
school board and city council.
Thank you for that
A
clarification.
lot of the constitutional officers are up next year too.
Okay. All right.
I'm not,
All right.
thank goodness.
Let's see if we can get Jay from Chesapeake on the line. Hi, Jay. You're on the air.
Hey, y'all. How you doing?
All righty.
Listen, I want to thank you first for each and every one of you and the panelists for being so excited and so enthused about getting everybody to vote. That is very important. But let me just say this, too. In voting, you have candidates that are campaigning and you have candidates that are advertising, just like Don said and a few others the other minute ago. Advertising is the fine science of arresting the human intelligence just long enough to extract something of value from it, whether it be a vote, whether it be money. As Don said, they use the right words. They have word tracks. They get you emotional and so forth. I'm not a Virginian originally. I'm from Compton, California, but I've lived here long enough, and I've been around the saucer enough to know where the teacup handle is. I appreciate you so much, y'all. Take care.
Thanks so much, Jay. We appreciate that. All right, so we're down to the last few minutes in this show this time around. What else do you want to tell people to pay attention to? What else is out there that we need to be well aware of?
We need to pay attention to our education. We got to make sure, and we have to make sure that that the confusion is being taught, that's being put out there. I was at the Congressional Black Caucus last the week before last, and they had a representative from the Equal Rights Office, right? Office of Equal Rights, and we talked about the transgender that the governor is trying to do in Virginia, and she said that's against federal law, and she said federal law trumps state law, and she said that just brings confusion.
Right.
It just brings confusion, and so we need to pay attention. Who's putting out this confusion? So make sure it's facts and not confusion. Voting, the integrity. We don't have a voting issue, and we will not be like Atlanta or Florida. We're gonna fight. Georgia. I'm sorry, Georgia. We are going to fight to ensure that everyone has access to vote.
We got a messenger, a note from someone on Messenger. They said, quote, "That guy tripped y'all up with the Warnock comment. He's a corrupt politician and pastor, and you refuse to even consider it. Why? Because he's black and a Democrat. How about you ask his ex-wife?" Now, I don't know about all that.
Okay, well, he has a
he
history.
has an opinion. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me just say this.
Go ahead, Don.
Everybody living has a history, unless you just came out the womb. Okay? So we all have history. We all have things that, no, we don't like to talk about or that we have lived through who have made us the people that we are today. I was not dismissing his conversation, but I have to do my research because I don't know any rule that says that Senator Warnock cannot pastor his church and receive compensation for it.
Right.
But,
which is the caller's point.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yes, Reverend Warnock has a past who had a wife who said she was abusive. He was abusive toward her, but they have reconciled and she supports him in his election. So historically, I know that. So that is a fact because that came from her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what?
Now,
but think about this.
This is a part of what Jay was saying, where people try to put things in your head and in the atmosphere. And if you're just going to believe it because somebody said it, then there's something you need to work on in yourself.
But let's go beyond the abortion thing with Herschel Walker. Listen to what's coming out of his mouth. Listen to his issues.
Well, he doesn't have any issues.
He doesn't have any issues.
I think that was the point that Don raised.
So let's go beyond the abortion thing where he believes in the women. Mm-hmm. Let's just talk about what's coming out of his mouth.
Right. So you all know, everybody knows I'm a Democrat. Okay.
Yeah.
But you also know I have friends who are Republican that I call on and ask because if I'm not having a conversation with my Republican friends and colleagues, I am not growing and understanding and helping to make decisions and develop laws at that time when I was doing that. Mm-hmm. So you can't put yourself in a box. But with the personal stuff, look at what a person has done. Mm-hmm. So what has Herschel Walker done?
In terms of
his life.
Gotcha.
Of his life and giving and serving after football. Y'all love him because of football. Well, put him back on the football field. Let him coach the team. But this is a person who's going to be making laws at the federal level. You can't just, I'm not just, thank you for the Instagram, but do your homework too.
You know, and the one thing that if no other topic on the planet gets people riled up than politics, right?
Right. That's why I love it.
And for folks in Virginia Beach, they also have new districts.
But they're doing a good job. They have a commercial on TV about it, and they're really getting that information out, and that is great.
So you have to vote in your district. So you have to know the candidates who are running in your district.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, so you got to pay attention to that. And they got a lot of candidates running.
Yes, they do. Ladies, as always, you guys are just wonderful. Thank you so very, very much. And you will send me the information about the forum that you're having. And Gayleen, tell us one more time about Sunday.
Yes, Sunday, you can vote in Hampton and Accomack too. If you're on the Eastern Shore, from 1 to 5, you can go to the registrar's office at the old courthouse. The NAACP will have a march at First Baptist King Street, and we'll march a half a block up to the registrar's office, and we will vote. And then you can come over and get Sunday dinner and listen to some music and bring 16 and 17-year-olds to register to pre-register and to vote. So when they turn 18, they'll be able to vote, and other folks too. And we're going to register all people.
Fantastic. Well, the bottom line is, listeners, we all need to vote. No excuses. Your vote counts. Please share the show with a friend. Go to anotherviewradio.org and download the podcast. And while you're there, you can sign up for our eView newsletter. It's a once-a-week reminder of upcoming shows, and we're on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at Barbara Ham Lee. Next week on Another View, the 40th anniversary of the Hampton Roads Black Media Professionals. 40 years, absolutely. Featuring the president of the organization, our very own Lisa Godley. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer, and Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Register to vote, go vote, and let's get together again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.